Okay, now thanks very much for this invitation, dear staff of the Science Gallery Bangalore, and hello, dear audience. I'm excited to speak to you and your audience today in the context of your current exhibition, Carbon, about my artworks that are indeed strongly related to blackness, carbon, and then in addition, as you mentioned, I would like to give you an interesting outlook into cutting-edge technology with a presentation to one of my, wait, we need to get it to play somehow. Yeah, it works. Um, into this outlook of my most recent AI art project. So now we are into opposition and sister squares are reconciled. The title refers to the eponymous book by iconic artist Marcel Duchamp, who ended his art career to play chess along with the Ukrainian-French chess master Vitaly Halberstadt, which examines positions and oppositions and the concept of sister squares and endgames of chess when actually only two kings and one pawn are left, while the two kings are standing in front of each other on the same color. The title, of course, is used as an allusion to the divergences and oppositions, connections and common grounds in the art and science intersection. Among all the differences and convergences between the two disciplines, I do believe that art and science converge in the importance of experimental work, in fact, as much as in the relevance of theory, and therefore both shape a significant part of my work. Focused on the advanced science of our era, I feel very much compelled to basically reaffirm in my work the romantic paradigm of the new, as well as the role of avant-garde art relating to, as everybody knows, the radical experiments of classical modern art throughout the chosen or newly developed medium and its combination with the artistic concepts I'm choosing or developing. Now, please let me present you somehow the slideshow does not move forward. Don't know, this has maybe to do with the Zoom and the admission that I have to do, obviously, here. But so let's try to move this on. So now, please let me present you a project which has been completed in 2019 during my MIT Artisan Residency called The Redemption of Vanity. And here, oh, now it finally works. So though I received the residency actually for another project called Haus Kundmangasse 19, which I'm still pursuing with the scientist Konstantin Novoselov, the British-Russian Nobel laureate, you're seeing here this wonderful diamond, the Redemption of Vanity, actually presented in 2019 in the New York Stock Exchange in New York. This wonderful diamond. It is, involving a very unusual material. It's called carbon nanotubes, short CNTs, or known in the art world and in the public as the blackest black on Earth. I present you now during the presentation the redemption of vanity, but the visual stunning effects of this blackness you will see in both projects. So the diamond you just saw spinning is 16.78 carat natural yellow diamond of very high value, a so-called fancy vivid yellow, a radiant shape, $2 million price tag on it, combining basically the most brilliant material on Earth, covered with carbon nanotubes, which is the most light absorptive material, being the blackest black on Earth, which makes the diamond appear to disappear. Here you saw just this wonderful spinning diamond. And as you can imagine, it was not very easy to find a sponsor or a donor for this project who gives you a $2 million stone for an art project. So I tried them all, De Beers, Cartier, Tiffany. And it was only when I found the company LG West in New York, who was really kind and crazy enough to give me this stone so that I was able to realize the work. And here you see an animation of the disappearing diamond. And it is indeed so black, and I will describe the aesthetic properties a little bit more. So some words, please, on this unusual material called carbon nanotubes or short CNTs. Grown carbon nanotubes are tiny hollow carbon cylinders. Most single-wall nanotubes have a diameter of close to 1 nanometer only. A human hair is approximately 80,000 to 100,000 nanometers, and a carbon atom is about the 10,000th of the width of a hair. This is all unimaginably small for our Newtonian scale of sizes. So the CNT shape a microscopic forest on the shiny surface of the diamond when a photon enters the special forest structure, which is mainly consistent actually of empty space. It is basically encaged and bounces around until it dissipates as heat. The carbon nanotubes we created for this art project absorb 99.995% of the visible light. So any object covered with this material loses all its plasticity and appears entirely flat, as you could see very well on the animation. So basically abbreviated to a black silhouette by erasing totally any shadow within the object. This stands in outright contradiction to what we see in a diamond, while made of the very same element carbon and acting as the most intense reflection of light on Earth. Just the different structural forms of the arrangement of the carbon atoms create these opposing extremes in appearance to in exposure to light. And it was this specific idea of the unification of the most extreme opposites that caught my imagination in the very first place when I read about the so-called allotropes of carbon, when an element exists in more than one crystalline form. One could see, in this sense, the project as a contemporary take on Heraclitean ideas. Heraclitus, the Greek philosopher around 500 BC, on the opposite extremes united. For example, he said the way up is the way down. The Greek word bios stands for life, but bios also means bone, means death. So I imagine and hope Heraclitus might have really liked the project, since he was obsessed with this, as he assumed, ruling principle of the harmony of the cosmos. Also, in formal respect, the project represents this paradoxical combination of the two opposites coinciding in the same object. The form that maximizes the return of light, which is the diamond cut, is covered with a surface that basically maximizes its absorption. In effect, the CNT properties appear almost immaterial, as the void of a black hole. The project could not have been completed better than done as a great achievement at MIT in Brian Wardle's lab with my collaborator on this artwork. We use a newly developed method patented at MIT that is measurable the blackest black on Earth, surpassing other materials such as the much discussed Vanta black by really the tenfold, so very drastic change on blackness. Here is an image on the electrobeam chamber. The covered diamond is presented on a small elongated golden foot encased in a glass dome, like the old science displays used to use, mounted onto a pedestal. And in order to able to see the literal elusiveness of the art piece as good as possible, the installation is equipped with illuminated magnifiers to see, well, essentially nothing, right? Which we can see actually only in fact through the surrounding and lighting. Here is another view. Obviously, the chosen aesthetic can be seen as a denial or refusal of the persuasiveness or seductiveness of the senses. The project explores how material and immaterial value is attached to objects and concepts in reference to luxury, society, and to the arts. And the literal devaluation of an object of highly symbolic and economic value can be clearly understood in respect to the embracing forces of the art market mechanisms on the one hand, while expressing at the same time questions on the value of art in its more broader sense. And this brings us also to the choice of the site of the show. The New York Stock Exchange and the display in the boardroom seems to be a perfect match to contemplate the topic of value. One could think in this context about the man-made, really arbitrary character of value attachment to things and concepts. The New York Stock Exchange is by far the most important stock exchange and is nothing less than the holy grail of the creation and determination of value. Here another view. As a side effect of the project, we also freed the color black from its exclusiveness. As you might know, British artist Anish Kapoor has attempted to monopolize the CNT material for his own personal artistic use. We applied a CNT growth method that is, as said, 10 times blacker than Vanta Black and opened this pattern for free use to any artist. Obviously, we do not believe in exclusive ownership of concepts, ideas, or materials in the arts. So now we move on to the next project, which actually brought me this residency, which is still not fully realized. We're still working on it. Here's the view on the Wittgensteinian house in Vienna, Haus Kundmanngasse 19 in the second district in Vienna. In Haus Kundmanngasse 19, we're creating an architectural model at a scale of 1 to 150. It will have a total size of 167 by 147 by 100 millimeter length, width, and height, of course, at the famous building of the Austrian philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein. The model is completely covered with these grown carbon nanotubes, these tiny cylinders made entirely of carbon atoms grown on a catalyst attached to a support material, as I have described it earlier in the previous project. So let's discuss the illusions, the infamous Tractatus, because Wittgenstein attempted to set a limit to thought. Don't know what the red drawing was that just popped in. Wittgenstein attempted to set a limit to thought in his Tractatus, and that is to capture limits to what can be said meaningfully. He put it this way, and I'm giving a quote: "For in order to set a limit to thought, we must be able to think both sides of that limit, which means we must be able to think what actually cannot be thought." In this early work, Wittgenstein did not deny the importance of aesthetics or aesthetic problems, but he located them essentially beyond the limit where we can meaningfully speak. I actually had another interesting quote in this context. "We feel that even when all possible scientific questions have been answered, the problems of life remain completely untouched. Of course, there is no question left, and this itself is the answer." An architectonic model is usually made to give a complete overview of a structure of a building, to represent all sculptural qualities down to very precise details on a smaller scale. An architectonic model, on the other hand, which actually conceals its own plasticity, can be exactly seen as an analog to ideas about the limits of thoughts and the unsayable. A sculpture that actually undermines or evades its own visibility most obviously manifests exactly this dichotomy within itself, but at the same time represents the idea of very similar ideas, very similar in character to those captured in Wittgenstein's concept of the unsayable. And in this sense, one could view this work as a representation or a manifestation of its own unrepresentability. The goal of this not yet completed art science project is not only to exceed the level of blackness we have achieved so far at MIT, but to create the ultimate and maximum level of blackness on Earth that is technical, even in principle, achievable. But again, it's not based on previous research on this topic in the redemption of vanity as carried out at MIT. CNTs are just one technical option, and we are doing currently tests with other materials that we consider very promising, an ultimate statement on the color black, so to speak. We use the famous material graphene, the one atom layer of the very abundant material graphite, which everybody knows in the pencils. So, and Konstantin Novoselic got the Nobel Prize for the development of graphene. Finally, and to conclude the topic of black, I'm showing you another project, which, is just a photo project. The question, will it ever turn black? You see all the imprints of each single ball on the squash wall. So an interesting photo project on blackness. And now I'm starting with showing you El Turco. El Turco is the project I told you, it was introduced in the previous introduction as a current AI project. So I present you this project that involves natural language processing and various other AI modules. It is the artwork called El Turco. El Turco presents a large-scale 16 by 4 meter triptych installation, so very big. We see two digital avatars talking in animated hand drawing style. And so what I want to show you here, one of the avatars, actually to the right, I will show you in a second, is directly operated by a human hidden inside the system. So the actor's face is captured, as you see here, with a mesh structure, and its data points are connected live to the avatar's face. This enables the generation of lifelike human facial expressions through the synchronized control of the avatar by a human operator in real time using a live data stream application. And I can show this really quick here, but need to detach the microphone. I hope you can see it. I'm gonna run the film.
The grid on my face is mapped right and directly onto the avatar drawing, and that allows me to control and operate the avatar's facial expressions and body movements. I'm, so to say, speaking right through the avatar, as you can see here, very well demonstrated.
Did you hear it?
Yes, Diemut, that is audible.
Wonderful. I just want to make sure. So the spoken words of the operator or actor are then fed into an AI pipeline consisting of several AI components to enable a live dialogue. So the human speech output is simultaneously converted into text, which activates the second avatar, which combines a melange of different historical and fictional characters and works via the GPT-4, switchable to a Claude Anthropic machine. So I can choose and throw in any other large language model. The main protagonist is called Ishmael, after the fictional narrator of Herman Melville's Moby Dick, and creates text using an AI system for natural language processing. We use this very famous statistical probability-based language models, so-called large language models, to generate text, like the GPT series or Palm series. There are different models, and I can update to any model that comes in and is the newest version. The text is simultaneously converted then into audio, and through an audio-to-face and audio-to-gesture AI model, Ishmael's machine-generated audio also controls his own lip sync, gestures, and facial expressions, as well as body movements. The structure actually resembles the mechanical Turk, and I can give you a small sample. Hope
you want a name for this world, a solution for all its riddles, a light for you, too. This world is the will to power, and nothing besides. And you, yourselves are also this will to power, and nothing besides. What do you think of Friedrich Nietzsche, and his ideas on power, the power of masters and slavery?
Nietzsche's idea of the will to power is indeed compelling, suggesting our basic motivation is a raw, unrefined desire to accumulate and assert power. Yet it is also provocative as it deconstructs usual notions of morality and human drive. His philosophical distinction between master and slave morality
So I leave it at this, but you see it's a live conversation, and actually this is samples from a year ago. Now we are much further in the design of the whole system, and it allows for this real-time live interaction. It actually allows also for some different modification and setups of presentation modes. So how I have set it up here is very much as a structure resembling the mechanical Turk as an automated chess player that fascinated the aristocrat courts of the 18th century. Later, however, it became clear that a human player was apparently hiding in the mechanical Turk. But this is now a new version with AI, Ishmael, and the female counterpart named Catherine Johnson, after an Afro-American mathematician, but with the implemented life of a 17th century Baroque artist, Artemisia Gentileschi, are reminiscent of the phenomenon that the French philosopher Jean Baudrillard describes as simulacrum, a system that creates a world of signs and symbols without any original reference to the grounding or the physical world. Although the machine displays very impressive and surprising abilities in imitating knowledge and understanding, this effortless talking machine to the left seems to prove to be a very advanced mathematical magician trick, as some qualifies the large language models. And here's a second setup with a different, I can also play this for a second.
How do you like? The artist is present, the performance of the artist Marina Abramovich in New York's MoMA.
Marina Abramovich's work is remarkable in the way it explores the relationship between artist and audience. Her performance, The Artist is Present, pushed the boundaries of endurance and vulnerability, demanding as much from the audience as from herself. Her exploration of transience, pain, and
Okay, so just to give you a brief example, and although undoubtedly current AI systems generate, I want to make some very general remarks on the current state of the technology and related to my artwork, although undoubtedly current AI systems generate representation of semantic dimensions, at this point in this very accelerated development of AI technology, the machines do not appear to have a conceptual understanding of language or the world. Nevertheless, renowned AI specialists, as you for sure followed, for example, Geoffrey Hinton, claim that large language models such as GPT-4 can perform simple reasoning. Predicting the next word still seems far removed from realistic or even hypothetical word modeling as we do it, critical or strategic thinking, or drawing logical and causal inferences that allow us to extract meaning in so many complex ways instead of being just, subjected to a flood of noise. Nevertheless, the advanced level of great coherence in large language models may pose a very serious challenge to our ability to distinguish even between true and false at all. Moreover, who is coding into the machine on topics of value statements or certain worldviews to take positions on what is even true and false in the first place is a big question. All this could unleash unpredictable manipulative influences and forces that are and would be completely uncontrollable. And when we think about who encodes goals and motivations in machines, for example, in deadly AI weapons, one could and should begin to doubt who we actually have to fear more, the AI machines or ourselves, or rather ourselves with AI machines. Would then additional new technology and the chaining of AI models elevate AI results to a completely new scenario, to the much discussed singularity? Could AI, through its manipulative omnipresence, mean actually the end of the leadership of human intelligence? Or will it bring the end to epistemic values of the Enlightenment's dare to know, for example? Even if artificial general intelligence were just a fiction. But would it also be possible that both forms of intelligence, which are undoubtedly different, could complement each other in positive and effectively ways to solve very big problems, such as solving cancer, technical answers to climate change and geoengineering, or other global issues? In any case, we seem to be forced to rethink our definitions and perspectives on human and machine intelligence. Unlike a text model, the live dialogue system presents a 360-degree view of the avatar, giving much more insight into the machine and its modules work than just a large language model alone. Every failure obviously breaks the illusion of intelligence. Every success feeds it. But even if the system worked completely perfectly, which is really approaching with these new models, Sonnet 3.5, this is insane good and very, very fast, basically successfully passing the Turing test, which really it comes very close to or does. Still the question, what can be really said about the true intelligence of the machine and also about our intelligence? You know, large language models and how AI, actually deep neural networks, how they all work is still a matter of dispute and a type of a black box. And so is our brain. We do not know how we generate our intelligent results. A Turco Living Theater allows users to explore each latest version of the large language model technology in a live theater performance, tested and challenged by an actor in a kind of language duel. The avatar characters are presented in various different gender and ethnic formats. The artwork also features an interactive interface that invites the audience to speak directly to an AI machine, as you see here on that version, operating basically the avatar on the right side. In addition, to the live presentation, there are also video series that are produced with live recorded dialogues called the Turco Conversations with an AI, which was on display in Japan in 2022. And now there are different museums that will present the living theater. And one last remark on the brief test. So that voice, for example, was spoken by a Chinese man, but you heard a female voice. So there is no way, and this is what this AI project really addresses, how can we discriminate true and false? This is what brought us, in this extraordinary position of ruling the planet. Now science seems to turn to kind of undermining its own principles in the way that it put us in the position to test by experimental evidence what is actually true and what is false, freeing us from religious dogma, now putting us in, the consequences that its own technology is built on. Thank you so much.